Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out tonight. I just want to first say thank you so much for Winston, for this event, for giving me that call. When he first asked me to share my story, I thought, who am I? I'm awful at public speaking. This is what scares me to death. And second, so many of you have already heard my story. It's in the news, it's written in articles. I've gotten so good at sharing the story, I could probably say it in a 1-minute elevator pitch. That's how many times I've shared it. But there was no heart. And this is VoiceStory. And that's what Winston got out of me, was to share from my heart. So I first want to start off by asking you all who remembers Expo 86. I can't see you, so I think that's going to age me a little bit, and some of you who held up your hands. For those of you who don't know what Expo 86 was, it was a world fair. It came to Vancouver. It was about transportation and communication. And in this fair, from May to October, 22 million people from all over the world showed up to this event. And they say on one given day, 70% of Vancouver's population was at Expo. So I remember as a 5.5-year-old girl holding my mother's hands, walking through the different pavilions. I remember sitting there watching performances on the stage, and one performance in particular was my sister. She was there in her beautiful hanbok with the red cheeks and dancing a traditional Korean dance. These are my first memories, kind of a festival, really. Now imagine today having a festival in your own community. This is where people from all ages, young to old, come together, from all ethnic backgrounds. And you have political leaders, community leaders, you have big business, small businesses, other not-for-profits. You have artists showing their artwork. You have chefs cooking up their creations, and you have performers on stage showing their ethnic performances. Well, this was my reality. Last year, in August, I put on the first ever BC Dumpling Festival right here at Coquitlam Town Centre, right next to us. Getting there, however, was no easy feat. And there was one incident that happened that changed my life forever. So let me bring you back to April of 2021. We are now just over a year of being through COVID. Everyone is super antsy, and people wanted to just get outside at this point. So I went out with a friend, and I met her at Town Centre Park for a walk. It was an evening like tonight, nice and warm, and the park was very busy. As we just started our walk, some lady came up to us and asked, "Can you take a picture with my phone?" And my initial thought was, I don't have any hand sanitizer on me. I don't really want to touch anyone's phone. I didn't say that, but that was kind of my first initial thought. So we said sorry, and we continued going on our way. And then we heard it. You know, this COVID came from you. It came from your country. Go back to China. Wow. At first, I was confused. Who is this lady saying this? I was born in Canada. I'm not even Chinese. But that's besides the point. My friend next to me was Chinese, born in China. And it was a racial remark due to the color of our skin. And then second, I was shocked. The park was busy. It's not just us that heard it. Other people heard it as well. Who would say such a thing? And then I was angry. I took out my phone, went back to her and said, "What did you just say?" And after some explicit words, pointing to her bum, she said, "It came from your country. It came from your country." Well, I had it on video. So I went back home that night and I reflected. And it got me a little bit sad because I'm like, COVID really did a number on people. Maybe it's a mental health issue. But then later to find out that she's a VP of an engineering firm right here in Vancouver. And then I had anxiety. I'm thinking, all of these stories that you see in the media, it's daunting. Like, what's going on in our community? What's happening? And then I felt fear. I mean, at this time, I didn't want my dad or my in-laws to go out for a walk, to go to the grocery store, for fear that someone was going to come and attack them just because of the color of their skin. Or I usually go running in the morning, and I had that fear and anxiety that someone would just come up from behind me and kick me down. So that evening, I decided, I have this footage. What do I do with it? Do I just let it go, or do I post it? I didn't think it was a big enough story, really. All she said was, "It came from your country." But I decided to post it anyways. And one by one, friends started to read it. They commented and shared. And they commented and shared. And it kept on going. And people started tagging the media. And very quickly, this video went viral. I don't know any of you who have experienced having a viral video or having the media contact you for an incident that happened. Well, for the next 2.5 weeks, I was bombarded by this. It kind of took over my entire life. TV interviews, radio interviews, just people contacting me. And I sat with that after everything kind of died down, and I thought, what do I do with this? Not everyone experiences a racist incident. Do I just, again, let it go, or do I do something about it? So my background is in photography. I decided to photograph friends and family. I brought them into the studio, and I photographed each of them individually with racist words written on their faces. So these are words that I grew up with. Chink, ching chong. Some of the newer words like kung flu or bat eater. So I did this project, I posted it up on my social. Again, it got some media attention. And that's when I met Al Lau. He came to interview me for Asian Heritage Month because of this project that I just did. And at the very end, he had asked me, "What do you think about doing a festival in Coquitlam?" A festival? Well, what kind of festival? A multicultural festival. You see, Coquitlam is very diverse. It has over 51% visible minorities, but we don't have any festivals in Coquitlam at the time that celebrated multiculturalism. And then I thought, wow, this is a very good idea, but why me? I know nothing about festivals. I've never put on a festival in my life. The only event I threw was my children's birthday parties. But I thought about it, and 20 years as a wedding photographer and event photographer, I knew people. And I knew that something like this could happen. So at the very same time that Al came to me with this idea, I connected with some other ladies who wanted to make an impact in the community. And so I thought, great, let's form together this not-for-profit and let's put on this multicultural festival. I don't know how many of you have started your own business. How many of you have started a business with a partner or a not-for-profit with other people? Well, let me tell you, 50% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. Add in a partner, it's about 70%. I mean, the odds were against us at this point. Our intentions were great. What we wanted to do in the community was good. But what I realized, and in retrospect, we didn't have the same vision, and there was such a lack of leadership. And so we had 1 year to plan this festival. We all had our jobs to do, but it became very clear nearing the festival now, we're 3 months to the festival at this point. We had very little money, no sponsors, no vendors. Like, it was a struggle. We reached out to so many people, and we had nothing. And of course, and reasonably so, these girls call a meeting and say, we can't go ahead with this. Let's postpone it to the next year. And something in my heart of hearts was like, this can't happen next year. We have to do it this year. It's not rocket science. But at the same time, I knew because we weren't aligning that if they say let's postpone it, it meant it wasn't going to happen. And I called a meeting and I said, I would like to ask you to step down from the not-for-profit so I could carry this forward. And what happened was a shock. I was actually voted out of my own not-for-profit that I created. It was gut-wrenching. I felt so alone. I felt very abandoned. It was such a difficult time to be voted out. At the same time, I got COVID. My kids got COVID. I was going through a lot of other personal issues. And I felt like this whole weight of this festival was on my shoulders. Think about it. We're 3 months out. The media knew about it. We were speaking at City Hall, kicking off Asian Heritage Month, promoting the festival. It was said in legislature. I mean, there was just so much riding on this day. The last thing I would have wanted were for thousands of people to show up on August 13th and have absolutely no festival. So I had to make a decision. It's kind of that fight or flight. Do I just let it go and leave it, or do I fight for this? Something in me just told me, you have to do this. So I rolled out of bed, I called the lawyer, and I said, I need to start a new not-for-profit. So I started a not-for-profit called Asian Arts and Culture Society. I added in my board, and I got on the phone and called every single person I knew to come and volunteer and help out. I needed to build this committee of people to go on with the festival. Now this is like 2.5 months out to a festival date. June 1st is when I got my incorporation, and with $0 in our bank account. And I did everything in my power to get this festival going. And so slowly but surely, we started getting sponsorships, we started getting vendors, we started getting performers. And fast forward to August 13th. We ended up having 10 food vendors, 10 food trucks, 30 community vendors. We had local artists, we had a kids zone, we had over 100 performers on stage, and I had 160 volunteers from the community show up. We were anticipating 5,000 people for this first time ever festival, and about 25,000 people showed up. This is with zero advertising budget. It was all through social media. And I walked the park the entire day in awe. How did this happen? And it was from so many people that came together to volunteer their time and help me put on what normally would take a year to plan a festival, 2.5 months. So we're doing it again. August 12th this year, I invite you all. We're still in the planning stages, but we do need sponsors. I need vendors, I need performers, I need volunteers. So please come talk to me after. But I want to end off with this. Why? Why did I do it? Well, the first reason, I love dumplings. I'm not gonna lie, they are my favorite food. I do eat them almost on a daily basis. So it's my jam. It's right up my alley of things I love. Second, and this is gonna get me in trouble, I wanted to stick it to those girls. I had something to prove. I wanted to prove that I wasn't delusional. Third, I wanted to be the voice that my parents never had. They came in the 1970s, and they experienced quite a bit of racism. I also experienced some racism growing up here as well. And now that I'm older, I could speak up and speak out about it. 4, I wanted my daughters to be proud. I wanted them to know that things could happen in life, but as long as you persevere through it, you could get to the end. And then I wanted to do something that was bigger than myself. I knew this festival was going to be a success. Come on, it's dumplings. And it didn't seem like anything really could go wrong with it. It almost sells itself. But at the very core of why I did it, it was from relationships, it was through connection, and it was the feeling of belonging. And I can't tell you how many amazing people I've met along the way to planning this festival. I wouldn't be here today if I didn't get out of bed and make that decision. So thank you so much.